It's really a true honor to be here, and I thank Caitlin and Pastor Brady and their efforts to help make this a reality. We, along with Keystone Church, is asking you to stay present and become aware of what we, in the direction of what God is asking us to do. We believe that we're on a mission, and we're here to share that mission with you. We are bringing to you today is a 2-hour class that will begin to explain a fairly new concept called the Intrinsic Learning Leadership Model. Okay? We want you to learn as much as you can in these 2 hours. And we also need your feedback to help us fine-tune this life-changing mission that we are on. You have been handpicked, which means you are very well respected as leaders and people. What's important for you is to understand we need you. Your schools, your churches need you. Your families need you. And your communities need you. And most of all, God needs you. What do we need from you? What are we asking? 1, a willingness to grow and mature and become all that you're capable of being. And I think that's what you're doing. And that's good. We want you to be your authentic self. A desire to apply your leadership skills and behaviors. We want you to be leaders. And we're going to treat you as leaders. And lastly, an inspiration and motivation to improve community. Our communities, our states, our country, our world needs help. And I think you're going to realize that today. What we plan to do today is start the process so you can see what is being created inside this process and the good it's doing as we move forward. We are giving you 2 hours of solid content along with $40. Everybody know you're getting some money on this? We hope that you're here more than the money. And hopefully after it's over with, I'm going to ask you, do you want to continue? And you might, based on what you learned today. You are represented here today to see the importance and the purpose of what we are accomplishing. And for you to see that each and every person here today, if they so choose, can become a part of the solution in solving life's human and community problems. Now, please sit back, alert yourself to your physiological, to your psychological, your emotional, your sociological, and your spiritual sides within your human framework, along with all of life's obstacles and pitfalls. And we know there's a lot of them out there. And begin to go on a journey with us and truly learn those secrets of life which God gives us. We thank you for your attendance. And what I like to do now is invite Brady up here to bless this program, this mission, this class, and hope that something positive is going to come out of this. You know what I see out of this? Based on what you're going to learn today, and if you continue to ride with this, how many lives you can save. This is about saving lives. There are people out there struggling. Suicides are up. Depression's up. Addiction is up. So many things are affecting the quality of life. Brady?
Sure. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for all you've been stirring in Ben, and thank you for the students that have come to give him some feedback. We see incredible potential in the work that he's doing, and so just pray that you would bless this time, you would energize this room, that you would lead us wherever it is that you want us to go. And ultimately, I pray that the impact from this ministry would travel around the world. And so this is your work, and so it's an honor to be a part of it. And we bless you and ask you to bless it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. We are very patriotic, so you can see I brought a little flag. So hopefully you know the Pledge of Allegiance. Is it still happening in your schools? Because when I was in school, we said it all the time. So if you don't mind, cover your heart. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I think we should stand up for this, yes? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Beautiful. Thank you. Now, this is fun. Everybody know each other here? Somewhat. Yeah. Okay. What number? Since the guys are on side and the girls are on the other, either 1 or 2 is behind my back. Whoever guesses it, you can choose to go second or first. So which one is it?
2.
2. So your choice. You want the guys to go first? You guys want to go first?
All right, guys first.
Guys first. All right. First person here. So what I would like to have you do is introduce your name, any interests you have, the dreams and the goals that you're striving for in your life.
All right, my name's Paul. My interests, I like to ski, I play soccer, I like to drive with the windows down in the summer. And I don't know, my goal is probably just get through senior year and graduate next year. That's about it. I don't have a lot of dreams or goals.
No dreams and goals yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Maybe something today.
Hopefully.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
All right, well, my name is Josh, and hold on. No, sorry, I'm kind of, all right, never mind. So my interests are skating and skiing, and my dreams and goals, for me, it's being an actor, I'd say, but like, really my goals right now is just not to fail geometry, and yeah, just get in junior year, so yeah.
Okay.
I'm Matthew. My interests, well, I play soccer. I also like to drive with the windows down and fall. I have hobbies like I do ski just for fun, but nothing major with that. My dreams and goals really just pass all my classes next year, maybe get some A's and B's, and then go to a good college. Set my life up for next, so nothing huge yet.
All right. Well, I'm Susie. I love to sing and play tennis, and I really love environmental science. And my goal for this year, like right now, is probably just to I don't know, do okay in Algebra 2 as I finish. Yeah, and just keep strong throughout the rest of this year and persevere.
Good. Very good. Right.
I'm Eliza. I like to read and go hammocking and hang out with my brothers. My dreams and goals are probably just to get through high school and get into a good college.
Okay.
I'm Katie. I like to swim, and I'm really into summer camp, so I spend a lot of weekends there and my whole summer there. Some dreams. I don't really have any big dreams. I don't probably go to like just an SEC school. I really don't care which one. Don't really have any goals.
Okay. They come when you're ready. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'm Caitlin. Some interests of mine. I love anything and everything Disney. So, puzzles, posters, movies, Disney World. I'm all about it.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Ryan's still trying to convince me of the whole Star Wars thing. I don't know, and the
It's
whole
not
Marvel
Disney.
thing.
It's not Disney.
Other interests. I love basketball. I love coaching basketball. Now that I'm too old to play it. Dreams and goals. I'd love to become like a true adult someday that just seems to have their crap all together. And I would love to have children of my own someday.
Amen to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Well, hopefully you feel a little bit better, a little bit closer with the group that you're with by talking, sharing a little bit about who you are. How many people in here consider themselves leaders?
Not me.
Okay. Well, leaders can be looked at a lot of different ways. And I know just a little bit of my background, and maybe I should mention that right now. I taught Grand Rapids Public Schools for 32 years, taught a multitude of subjects, but dealt with a lot of at-risk kids. I taught in the jails. The feeling of where kids were at that time, they didn't like school, they didn't want to be there, so it was my job to help them stay there. And so when that kind of developed over a course of time, things such as what we're going to be going through today kind of developed. And it really helped in an area of helping people see who they are and their mission, of their purpose in life, okay? There may be some of you who are still trying to find that. But sometimes it's in group settings like this that it really can begin to develop. And I hope that we can prepare you with some things today to think about that will help you think about where you want to go in your life, okay? This is a facilitation class. I'm not a typical teacher. I am a teacher, but I teach differently, in more of a facilitation. So if you have to go to the bathroom, this is first signal timeout. Let me know. Go. I think one is where? Is there one up here?
Yep, there's one. You go through
Right?
the door and to the right. There's
Right.
one there.
Okay. So then it's just come back, but we will continue to go. Most important, there will be times when I'll ask you, fist to 5. Anybody hear about that? No? If I say fist to 5 and it's based on something you're thinking about, I'll say, all right, let's get a consensus, fist to 5. 5 means you're totally with us. You're totally with the concept. You're totally with the truth. You're totally with what has been said. 4, you're still with us. You agree. Maybe not quite like a 5, but a 4. A 3 means you still might have questions. And you're not quite sure. It's not that it's a yes and it's not a no. I'm still in the middle. I'm still thinking about that. And there may be a few times that may happen. Now, a 2 means I disagree with you. And 1 means I disagree with you and I will argue with you until the cows come home. Okay? Now, a 0, and I'm not asking you to do a 0, and I hope nobody does it. That means you're going to fight me to death. And there are people out there that will. I mean, we see it all the time. Okay? So that's a fist to 5, okay? And there are some sticky notes, as you can see, these orange things. So if you got a quick question in your mind and we're in something tight, just jot it down, and then when we get a better time, you may raise your hand. I still take hands above, okay? Now, if you go like this, it means, I didn't get what you said. Will you say it again? Will you say it again? How many times do you get a teacher telling you something before you really understand? Okay? There will be times when I will be doing my teacher role by teaching what learning really is. Okay? I think we get off track sometimes. We will be moving quickly. Folders. There's folders in front of you, and there's sheets. If you can open your folders right now, you'll find the presentation that I already spoken to you already, so you can put that in the back. And the next page is basically the outline of the class. I've put a lot of stuff in it. There's no way we're going to get through it all, but I may jump a little bit, so that's why I wanted to put all 4 units in.
I'm gonna grab some pens for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. That was one thing I forgot to bring. Oh, thank you. So I will tell you when to bring out a sheet, and then we'll work on that sheet. But right now, you can use the second sheet as a follow-along, okay? Oh, by the way, who watched the royal wedding yesterday?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I got up at 6 to watch.
What'd you think of it?
I liked it.
Wasn't it amazing?
It was great.
What about the guy who spoke on love?
Oh, that was cool.
Was that cool?
Yeah, I liked it.
Consider something like that within this,
Okay.
what he was saying. In fact, there's a number of things he said that consider some of the elements in what we're doing here, okay? That was unbelievable. And if you didn't see it, I recommend you see it. It's mind-boggling how that wedding talked to the world. Yeah. Okay, what I want to do is quickly go through this. This is really the first time that the IODC, which is the Intrinsic Leadership Developmental Curriculum, dealing with intrinsic learning, is really being brought to the public and all the elements that it will deal with. When you look at intrinsic learning, and we're going to define it in a minute, we're asking you, instead of learning about everything outside of you, how important is it to learn those things inside of you? And you ever think about what might be in there? The one thing that I learned, and I had a very successful life. I was a athlete, played 3 sports. But there were some things I struggled with. And there was times when I didn't like myself. Or even I didn't love myself. Because I was competing against the world. I was doing everything what I thought the world was trying to tell me to do. So we're going to be able to bring out some of these things. Certainly 2 hours a day is not going to get it, but at least you'll get an understanding of what we're trying to do, okay? So when you look at this, and I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, is the IODC deals with the concept of education. and you're going to hear from us. And I know you're going through it, and I hope doesn't sound disappointing, but our educational system is broke. It's broke. The strategies, the whole focal point of what we're trying to do in education, we're losing so many people. But there are a lot of people that are still surviving through it.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you mean broke or broken? Or
Broken.
Oh, okay.
Broken.
I mean, they're pretty broke too. So I just
Yeah, I know.
I mean, because you said that, and then
Yeah, when I say broken, of course, yeah, they say they don't have much money, so they're actually trying to get more money. But no, broken within the system, the philosophy of education. And I'm going to go through a couple of things, and it will show you what the two different philosophies are. Okay. Life and the holistic principles of life. Do you believe that life's made up of principles? Okay. Human values, character, personality. Now let me ask you this. Is character and personality the same thing? No, it's not. Thank you. Psychological, learning psychologically, meaning your thoughts, your thinking perceptions, your assumptions. Do you think if you could change a person's thoughts and their thinking process and change the way they perceive life and assume life, can you change the person? Yes. Yes, you can. But it takes some work. The power of self-talk from a psychological. What you say to yourself is probably the most important thing, even more than what you say to other people. So you get these bullies out there saying things to other people, cutting them down and doing all that, but you wonder what they're doing to themselves. Psychological critical thinking skills, human behavior. How many people, when you do something, you go, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Can't give yourself an answer, can you? What if there are answers out there? Okay? Success principles. We know there's a lot of people out there very successful, and they write a lot of books talking about their success. There are a lot of success principles. But again, one of the biggest principles is you. It's how you think, how you feel, how you behave, how you look at life, your attitudes. These are all principles. Emotional feelings. Now, that's the big one. What are the two ways we can learn? Can we learn through our emotions and our feelings? Can we learn through our cognitive thinking process? Those are the two. One sits on one side and the other sits on the other side. How do we work the cognitive with the word affective means emotional? Okay, cognitive and emotional. How do they work together? Mentioned just about the royal wedding yesterday. Love. What's the opposite of love? Hate? I thought that too. Not so sure. Where does it say? Perfect love casts out all fear. Where does it say that?
The Bible.
The Bible. Really deep down, fear is the opposite of love. Hate develops from that process. Okay. We have a whole unit on that. Okay. Building positive, healthy relationships. We got part 1. Part 2, human boundaries. As much as we get abused as human beings among each other, we just wonder how the types of boundaries we set up, or the boundaries that we don't set up, that send the wrong signals and so on. So boundaries is something that is very important to be conscious of. and what you set up. What's the first word a child should learn when here you go, Caitlin. First word. Is it yes? Yes, 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 yes? Or is it no? I know the answer is not the right answer. I mean, when kids want something, it's a yes, 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 and they want their mommy to say yes, yes. But we have to teach our children no. No has to be developed early. So when people are trying to manipulate or control or abuse, that younger people have the empowerment to say, no, don't touch me. In the name of Jesus, don't touch me. And gender differences. I've had quite a few people say, that'll be an interesting class to teach when you got males and females talking about their differences. How many people would want to take a class like that?
I would, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We're not quite ready to bring it to light yet, but we're getting close. Physiological, health, wellness, fitness. We have a whole support system in the health area when it comes to total health. There was a gentleman I met, his name is Dr. Bobby Belmonte, and he taught me, after having a heart attack, what it really means to be healthy. And it totally changed my whole perspective on health. And we have so many areas of that health that we're bringing to the table. And it's another area that any leader, student leader, anybody who's interested in health issues and so on, or maybe thinking on going into the medical profession, this class or this program will be for them. You can see all the way down. I'll let you read those. Why don't you just go ahead and read them? It'll be a little bit quicker. It goes all the way down to nutrition. Got it? Then there's the spiritual piece. As you can see, I am an author of 2 books. This is the curriculum of the ILDC. This is a book that I wrote on the foundation of Christianity and what it really meant when God sent His Son to earth. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Not just in our faith as far as do we believe it or not, but if you go back to, if you go back to the physical part where we are dealing with ourselves, one thing about health, as you will study, if you pursue the study with us, we have 50 trillion cells in our body. And science is now saying that for every cell is a small human being. So you have 50 so-called human beings inside of you that are listening to you and your faith level and belief level. So if you're lacking in your faith or belief in something, guess what? You're going to pass that down to all these cells. This is a proven fact. So Faith and belief is powerful, very powerful. We have a leadership component, and I'm going to go through that quickly. If I were to ask you, what is leadership? What is it? What is leadership? Can't put it in words? It's all right. It's all right. But it has to do with moving something from point A to point B, right? Moving yourself. But the thing is, we talk about leading other people. We can't lead other people until we lead ourselves. We have to learn to lead. And this is why something like this, when you begin to understand who you are and how you think, how you feel, how you relate, and the amount of sensations, the amount of feelings, the amount of love that's inside of you. This is all stuff that you will begin to take in, hopefully, as you move forward in your life. Now, I got some questions for you as we move forward on this. Now, the second part of the curriculum, this is basically what we're asking you to do is learn and grow. Learn all about you. You can learn about yourself. Be the best yourself. But see, what we want to do is once you grow, then those leadership skills are going to develop, and then you can help us with all these obstacles and pitfalls in life. Somebody might be interested in education, so maybe you sit on an educational committee team with us to help better education. We need students, not just adults. We need students too. We need your mindset. We have a whole era, and we can see it in all these crises. Another shooting in a school setting. Poor self-awareness, poor self-image, poor self-esteem could be at the root of everything that has been done in violence and destruction. And also, from a health-wise, all the things that people keep taking through the mouth into the brain. All the pills. The public should ask, whoever we could ask, what was the person on when he did this? Mental illness. In fact, mental illness, how many people read Sunday's paper? We're losing the game in mental illness. We don't even have enough counselors to counsel our kids and deal with problems. We need help. Last thing I want to do on this, if you can go to your folder, look at the collective disease of humanity and a collective dysfunction of the human mind. It might be the third or fourth sheet in there. There it is right there for you, Susie. No, back up. Back up. Back up. Right there. Here, take that.
Yours is the 5th page.
It's like this.
I just gave you a sheet. You can, yeah, you got it? Okay. Who would like to read for me? For us, I should say. Oh, come on. We're good. We're talking about seniors here now. Not, how,
I'll do it.
will you? Oh, thank you, Katie.
Like the first or the second part? Like the second
Well, just read the first one first.
Okay. Collective disease of humanity. The collective disease of humanity is that people are so engrossed in what happens, so hypnotized by the world of fluctuating form, so absorbed in the content of our lives, they have forgotten their very essence, that which is beyond content, beyond form, and beyond thought, which is their origin, their home, or their destiny. Eternity is the living reality of who you are. Keep going.
No, we're going to deal. All right. I want you guys, 3 of you guys, to turn and face each other. I want you to talk about what is this saying? What is this saying? And ladies, I want you to turn. All 4 of you over here. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I want you to tell me what this is saying. What is this saying? All right, ladies, give me a dialogue of what you believe this paragraph is saying about the world. Oh, this is some leadership. You got it.
It's your turn now.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So we said that we thought that it was saying that our culture is influencing us to be more self-absorbed and just focused on like what's going on in our lives, that we are forgetting about how the main goal or like the main like picture is eternity. Yeah.
The main picture.
I mean like.
Oh, the main picture
Of life.
of what
Yes.
now? Of what?
Of like what we should be like striving towards.
Well, okay, more like the
Yeah.
ideology
Yes.
of it, striving towards. And do you believe that that's what God wants us for? I mean, for us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right, guys. Thank you.
We talked about how, like, by the world of fluctuating form, that refers to how the world is always constantly changing, always constantly showing us new things, showing us what's going on, and it's distracting us from what God's purpose is for us in our lives.
Amen. Amen. Very good. Very good. But does it happen where we humans just totally don't visualize or even take in non-form? Like, is a belief a non-form thing? I mean, can you touch a belief?
No.
Can't touch. No. I mean, there's certain elements that are of non-form that we know are of God that we need to embrace, but when we apply it, the world doesn't quite understand it. Do they? Right.
Material things.
Yeah, material. And the one thing I'm finding out is because of my health issue and my mother-in-law, between the 2 of us, I think the medical profession would rather make money than save lives. Yeah. I mean, they've put money ahead of people. And you might want to axe that out. I probably shouldn't put that. Yeah. Somebody will be coming bombing my house. But that's both good terminations on that, and so let's go to the second one, which as Christians we know a little bit better. Some of you are on the guy's side. We want to read the second part. Go ahead, Matthew.
Okay. So, most religions believe that all human beings have a defect in them in their normal state.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a dysfunctional madness. Hinduism religion calls it Maya, meaning a wheel of confusion. Buddhism religion calls it Dukkha. Is it Dukkha?
Dukkha, I think it's
Dukkha?
Dukkha.
Okay, which translates as suffering, unsatisfactory, or misery, characteristic of the human condition. Buddhists believe wherever you go, you will encounter dukkha, and it will manifest in every situation sooner or later. Christian and Jewish religions see the normal collective state of humanity as one of original sin. Sin has been greatly misunderstood and misinterpreted. Greek definition of sin: miss the mark, such as missing the point of human existence. It means to live unskillfully, blindly, and thus most religions believe that all human beings have a defect in them in their normal state, kind of a dysfunctional madness.
Yeah. First of all, how many, fist to five, how many believe that? Got a 3? Got a 5? Got a 5? Got a 4? Got a 5? 4, 4. So we got almost a consensus. Paul, nothing wrong with your 3. It's just that you need maybe to ask more questions.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. Ask more questions. No, this is not not about being derogatory or, any kind of telling you that you're wrong, okay? But when it comes to the understanding of how we think and how we go about in our minds as far as how we think things through and how we behave to certain things, I came to the conclusion that we were in trouble a long time ago, and I was too. Okay, I just became a born-again Christian and then began to learn as much as I can, and I wrote a book and then realized that a lot of this truth is truth, that it goes all the way back to the creation of man. When God created man, he created man, both male and female, as the Bible tells us. Okay? He created man from dust and blew in the breath of life, and created man a living being, a living soul, and a living spirit. Every human being on the face of the earth has God's human spirit in him. Not God's Holy Spirit, but God's human spirit. Because the Bible tells us right from the start, that's where it is. So if you can take this is you, this is self. How many times have we referred to ourselves as the self? Okay? The human self. And this is over here is our spirit that God gave us. Okay? Now, that spirit is also called our soul. Soul and spirit are two things, but they all pretty much are entwined together. Okay? Our spirit and soul work as one. Now, until we decide to bring and accept God into ourself, then we're on our own. I mean, we're even people that are out there that have never been to church, never listened to a sermon, have God connected to them based on what Scripture has told us. So, but once this came and we decided to go this way, think how the world thinks instead of how God would like you to think, we get pretty off-centered, right? Okay. Thank you for your response. So what is the real reason why you think we're doing this? What is the real reason, you think? Any guess? It's about learning. And if we learn, we can grow. Without it, we can't grow. So if to grow for us is to grow, how do we grow?
We learn.
We learn. Very good. Keep that perspective because it's coming. Okay. So when we grow, to grow, we learn, and we learn to grow. And how do we lead ourselves? We develop those intangible leadership skills that you all read about by other people who go out and apply their leadership skills, and yeah, they're making a lot of money and they're doing a lot of success. You say, God, I wish I could do that. You can do that. Anybody can do that. Anybody can become the kind of leader if they decide to learn the true nature of themselves. Okay? So by leading ourselves, we can lead others. And once we lead others, there's nothing on the face of the earth that we can't accomplish. And that's what's amazing about where we are in the 21st century, that we do not have the kind of people that are focusing out similar to what we're doing in the sense that we want to solve the problems. And when we solve problems, we have to sustain those problems too. So we got to find ways of doing that. There's a number of organizations that we're connected with that's doing the very thing. We just happen to be doing it in personal development. They're doing it in neighborhood development. Other people are doing it in health development. But we have them all starting to develop. And only the community is going to be able to benefit. Okay. Our challenge in leadership is to grow, love, heal people, and heal the land. How many believe in that? Fist to 5. Beautiful. Consensus. All right. Why is that? All right. I'm going to skip that because all right. Can we say truthfully that learning is education? Fist to 5. Learning is education. And if we can say learning is education, then we can say education is learning. Now we've put the two pieces together. Let me ask you this. There's probably some 4-point people. 4-point, how many people got a 4-point here? Anybody? Close to it? All right. So you got some good averages. Okay. But how many people do you know that are struggling to even learn something? One of the biggest things that when I was in school teaching was, what did you learn today? Nothing. Nothing. My little kids come home too. My grandkids come. Hey, what'd you learn today? Nothing. Didn't nobody taught you anything? But when I go back and tell you that education is broke, and I'm going to show it in a minute. Bless you. That how we teach has a lot to do with the inability of students learning. Okay, because if I'm constantly telling you something, and because this is an introductory piece, I'm probably talking much longer. If I knew you guys were coming back the next 6 weeks, it would probably be totally different. Okay, but where there's no education without learning. Interesting quote that I came across. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who can't learn or relearn. Isn't that interesting? And I'm telling you, my problem with learning is I'm constantly relearning. I'm constantly forgetting. So if you guys do forget, hey, we all forget. But you have to relearn. And when you relearn, but if you continue to apply your learning on a consistent basis, that's why people do it in their jobs, you don't forget. You don't forget. So you have to keep it going. If you were in the church today with Brady talking about, your faith has to apply with application. You have to apply what you know. And the one thing that I usually tell students about learning is science has taught us that we take in information, we take in knowledge from the moment we're born. Okay? Data is constantly coming in. So when that comes in, we're basically starting to consume. And of course, we don't have the capacities to go through all the process of trying to dot the I's and cross the T's process. But as you get older, you have that information that even from the day you were born. But let me ask you this. How do you know from the day you were born to even today that everything inside of your brain, everything that you've taken in is true? What's the answer to that? There is an answer. No, you don't. You do not know. And today, I'm in my 60s. I'm still trying to figure out things that have been in my brain that I have to evaluate. And you guys are just, you're high school, and you're just kind of getting started, okay? But that's the job of what education is, to factor in and factor out what knowledge and what good knowledge and what good truth is. And maybe when something goes into one person and it applies, that same thing goes into you and it maybe doesn't quite apply. Okay? But there's probably some form of a connection. And that's where when we get to truth, if we get there, truth affects all human beings. So if we say learning is education, education learning, then we can say education is life, and life is education. Now, as you can see, now we can bring in life as an important reason to be educated. How many people are dropping out? How many people just say, I don't like to go to school. I don't like to learn. I don't like this. Are they actually saying they have no life? Because it's almost obvious that education is the entity that helps create our life. Fist to 5. Four.
Can you repeat that? What was the question?
Well, the question is, how many people feel that when people don't want to learn and they don't want to go to school and they don't want to educate, do they really know that it's not creating their life? I mean, they're hampering, the life is being hampered. It's not being, because we all create our own lives, right? Can we accept the fact that we create our own lives? But when we have it's those things that are missing. Go ahead.
I think not wanting to learn and not wanting to go to school are completely different things, in my opinion. Because, Steve Jobs dropped out of school and then created a multi-billion-dollar company with brand new innovations and technology.
But he kept learning, I know.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, no, you just said not learning in school are two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, as we know it, even for a younger child, education is all that there is. Until you get to the point where you are on your own. You know, I mean, I was not a strong learner, but it wasn't until I got into my late 30s or early 30s that I started reading books and really started learning about myself. And that's what got it going. And then I got into a business and realized that this business is something that could take me somewhere, and so I had some motivation. But school was not the best for me, but I made it through, like you guys are. But that's why when we talk about intrinsic learning, we talk about lifelong learning. That is learning outside the classroom. That's learning for yourself. Going to the library yourself, because you don't have to go there to do a term paper. You know, getting a book that you want to read and you want to begin to apply into your life. That is the kind of lifelong learning that we all should be striving for. Right? So, what is the true purpose of learning? Is to grow. Another concept that we must think about when it comes to learning is our existing knowledge. And I've already shared that with you, so I was a little ahead of myself on that. A dedicated student always stays a student of life. They become an intrinsic learner and a lifelong learner. Through their education, they are always looking for newfound insights to connect with their existing knowledge. So, yes?
Do you think it's a student of life or a lifelong learner? Do you think it's stuff that they should know or they want to know? Is there a difference? Like, do people tend to start learning about things that they should or things that they want to know?
Well, I think it starts with the want to learn first. We may look at certain things that they should know, meaning, and again, I'm ahead of myself, is the whole process of learning. And if you haven't mastered the English language and words get confusing to you and you don't comprehend, just learning, because words become sentences, sentences become paragraphs, and paragraphs become a form of conceptual understanding. You know, when you read something, like you read a full paragraph, you get an understanding of what that paragraph or that theme is. You follow me? And through a book, you may get a lot of different themes. That's why self-help books, for me, self-help books help me, because every time I was reading something, I said, God, that pertains to me. That pertains to me. So you get excited. So there is to answer your question, Kim, there is a process that you go after the stuff you want to learn. And if you want to learn about you, who is the most important person, at this point, you're the most important person on the face of the earth to you. And God will tell you that. He created you. You're important. So learn, be all that you can. And so when you are struggling in certain things, you can ask questions. Don't ever hesitate to ask questions to somebody that can help you understand conceptual learning, understanding concepts. Science is all about concepts anyway. Okay, so if you're in the science field, like cause and effect, That's a principle. And we go through cause and effect all the time, human behavior. I smile at you, you smile back. That's a cause and effect. Okay? But, good question. Thank you. Children have to be educated, but they also have to be left to educate themselves by becoming a self-learner, self-discoverer. Fist to 5. Yeah. I learned best when I learned myself, taught myself. Some people don't feel like they're capable of doing that. But, this is a program that you can really build off yourself. But there's a lot of programs out there that are similar to this that, even adults can plug into and so on. But you just have to keep your mind going and thinking and taking your existing knowledge, and when you get new information and it tends to fit, throw the old information out. Get rid of it.
Another question.
Yes.
So, what would be your advice? So these guys are like engrossed in school right now, and so they are in 8 hours of learning every day. How do you encourage them to learn more when it seems like all they're doing 8 hours a day at school is learn?
See, when I say the education system is broke, all they want to do is just keep throwing stuff at you. I don't know what to do with that. You guys, we're trying to form, and this might be a good time. We're trying to form a student leadership organization through the West Michigan Leadership Council. And this is anywhere from juniors to seniors on up to college students. We have a whole senior division of adults, anywhere from educators to doctors to scientists, okay, to put this leadership program together so we can go in and do all this great work in community. But people are so busy. People are busy. And nobody has time. And so what we're going to begin to create is an opportunity for kids who decide, well, I'm not sure yet what I want to do. So I'm going to take either the first semester off of college and get into a West Michigan Leadership Council program. And for the first semester, go through the class, go through other avenues of what can be done in leadership, and then hopefully they'll be ready to determine where they want to go. That's in the four plans. But I guess all I'm saying is that you guys are young enough to the point where once you get to the point where you do have some time, and again, I'm going to ask you if you want to continue to, and I'm willing to work through the summer to give you more content to do this. I've done work with people during the lunch hour, and where there's a will, there's a way. So I think that's something to answer your question. I want to make sure. Pray on it. Pray on it. What is God? Because He's your PhD. He's your doctorate. I learned so much from Him. All I do is I listen to my heart. And it just goes up into my brain, and sometimes the language that I'm speaking right now, sometimes I'm wondering, where did those words come from? So, now, this is the quick definition of intrinsic learning. Okay? Who hasn't read? Josh, go ahead, read this.
Okay, a process that guides and directs students to learn newly formed insights pertaining to themselves, deriving from self-awareness, self-reflection, and self-discovery through research, facilitation, discussion, and collaboration with self and others.
How many people like just to talk to people? Discussion and collaboration are those words that scare you, or discussion? I mean, it's so cool to be able to sit down and have a cool discussion and collaboration with some other human being on life and how they look at things and so on. Now, there's professions that are set up to do that, and we're trying to set up a kind of profession like that, okay? If you want to be somebody like me and I'm doing what I'm doing, that's going to be a possibility down the road, okay? But very good. Thanks, Josh. Who hasn't read? Susie, why don't you?
It involves the knowledge, application, and understanding through self-awareness, self-image, and self-esteem by the implementation of life's principles, wisdoms, and truths.
Okay. As I said, we have a complete character program, and what we have is what we call the 10 pillars of character. And the first 3 pillars of character are the most important. They are self-awareness, self-image, self-esteem. Okay, those are the 3 areas we need to address first. Then you have self-motivation. Then you have self-expectancy. Then you have self-discipline, self-control, self-dimension, which is more of the spiritual side, and self-direction. Off that piece, and I'm working with a 22-year-old graduate from Cornerstone, and she works at a health office, and she's been doing it on her lunch hour. And I wish she was here today because she could tell you how much in depth that she has gone to learn about some things about herself that she did not know. Okay, let's start with Paul.
Mm-hmm. Want me to read?
Yes.
Definition of intrinsic learning. It consists of and associates itself with many human concepts and elements such as awareness, image, esteem, expectations, motivation, projections, discipline, control, dimensions, direction, brain, right hemisphere, left hemisphere, attitudes, thoughts, ideas, thinking, behaviors, belief, dreams, visions, learning, knowledge, experience, wisdom, principles, institution, emotions, feelings, values, character, personality, fear, love, relationships, boundaries, gender, transformation, change, health, wellness and fitness, obstacles and pitfalls, spirit, life, and death.
Never thought we'd have that many things inside of us, would we? Or experience. Yeah. What's your thoughts, Eliza?
I'm Katie.
Huh?
I'm Katie.
Oh, Katie. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Okay.
Sorry, mine's.
What's your? You were smiling there. I was wondering what your thoughts.
That's a lot.
Well, heaven forbid. Yeah, we're gonna consume that in one day. Yeah, that's a lot. When I wrote this curriculum, I could not figure out how I was going to indoctrinate it, how I was going to, because it was just too much. But things changed. But that just gives you an understanding how much really is involved in the human being. And I was going to do this early, and I kind of skipped over is, one of our most prized joys. How many people love automobiles? Yeah, you got some.
I appreciate mine.
Yeah, you appreciate. Yeah,
Really
you
nice
appreciate.
to have one.
Right. But some people honor them. They make their automobiles like gods. I mean, it goes back to the what's real, what was the word? When you read it again. Sometimes I have a brain
Material things.
material things versus non-material things. Exactly. But we worship those things, those material things, but we don't realize the value that we have inside of us. And that's what really picked me up when I began to understand. I mean, there's so much ahead of us in this curriculum that we can show you how valuable you are. So, so when you start thinking about what's under the hood of an automobile, go home and ask your family, okay, what's under the hood of an automobile? And see how much they can tell you. You know, they might say, well, there's a motor and there's a carburetor and, pistons and radiator. There's wheels, there's rubber, glass. I mean, we can begin to spell that out. But what is under the hood of us? What's under your hood? When we put it into that terminology. And then when you look at this, all that factors in. And where do we put most of our time? Probably looking at under the hood of an automobile. Or going to school and learning all about things in history that maybe tend not to be relatable to you, but you're learning them anyway, right? I mean, I taught in the educational system for 32 years. I'm not saying that it's not important, but I'm just saying that we have missed the boat in some cases. So I think our praise, joy of education is each, every one of you, and what's inside of you and what you're capable of doing. And I'll read the last one. Intrinsic learning is the form of personal research and development that originates and develops from the internal, intrinsic, inside of the person, a student's inner self. So we know that intrinsic is about in here, but it's research. And when you get into our social or obstacles and pitfalls, there's a commercial on right now. There's a lady says her grandfather died. She's 15 years old, grandfather died. And she wanted to do research on cancer because he died of cancer. And so now she's going into the medical profession or going into some research process to learn about what killed her grandfather. Okay? And that's admirable. That's great. I mean, that's what we need. We need our younger people doing research and beginning to compile that research and work together, and in using the knowledge of our intrinsic self. I think the answers are in here, not out there. I do know why, what may be causing cancer. I've had some ideas for a long time, but I also know what I thought caused my heart attack. We know things intuitively, the causes of things. So you have to put some credit where credit is due when it comes to how we think and feel inside of ourselves. The goal of intrinsic learning is for students to discover and find their true, authentic self. Does anybody know what your true authentic self is? Have you heard about that word? I didn't know what it was. But once you begin to study and begin to go through your values, go through your character, go through the principles that you stand by in life, then it starts to shape up. And you realize that when you make decisions, it's a good decision for yourself, but it's also a good decision for humanity, because we have to protect each other. We believe we are a specialized organization that will be able to help students understand the many concepts of intrinsic learning. We also like to announce how important this program is to the crisis of mental health this country is currently going through. Now, would you believe that through this introduction, we're just getting to the start of the curriculum? Right. We have 218. Everybody doing okay? First question we ask is, who am I? Am I human? Where did I come from? How did I come into existence? What do you want to learn about yourself? What is my true authentic self? Am I a leader or a follower? I want you to quick pull out a piece of paper in your folder. I want you to write for 5 minutes and start with, who am I? Okay, time's up. Thank you for your effort. I can see you all put some effort behind it. And I'm just going to challenge you, because if you've never have done this, or you've never kept a diary, I know you women, you like to do diaries much more than men do, but it's very, very important that you start looking at this from a diary standpoint, saying that this is just the start of you beginning to write your story. Your story. In fact, we have a gentleman that's connected to us in marketing that has written a book, How to Write Your Own Story. And I just thought it was a great idea of, especially high school kids on up to college, to be able to write your stories and begin to explain the things that you're learning about yourself at this time in life. Okay? And the way you can do that is what you're doing right now. I'm going to ask, and it's going to real quick. We're going to go around. You have one sentence to say something about you, and we're going to go around, and we're going to go back. You say the second sentence, but this shows that you have put together a thought process on what makes up you. Who are you? Okay, Susie, start.
So I just read my first sentence?
Yep.
I'm Susanna Sylvia Mack.
Oh, no. You got to say something concrete.
About it? Okay.
Yeah, not introduce. This is intrinsic. Okay, say something about you which relates intrinsically.
I came from my mother's womb where God created me.
Okay, go.
I came from my parents into my family with my 2 older brothers.
Okay, so you guys are still generalizing out.
I'll start. How
All
about
right.
that?
You hold on. We're going to come back to you, but you're going to get it in a minute. All right, go ahead. Next.
I came from a family where I will always be loved and welcome.
Yeah, I guess when I started doing this, I wasn't thinking intrinsically. I was thinking more like general, like.
That's my mistake. This is
all. I put too.
We don't put anything from the other. This is intrinsic. But hopefully, all right. So go ahead.
I am mentally capable. That kind of thing.
You're mentally capable.
Yeah.
So you're telling us that mentally you can function capably whenever, right? All right.
Correct.
All right. That's a start. Yeah, good. But go ahead.
I don't know if this is one, but like I'm funny and good at making people laugh. Is that
That's so
Okay,
cool.
yeah?
So do you see yourself as being funny the rest of your life?
Well,
Because I know what it means to try to be funny at your
I
age.
mean, I have certain goals.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like maybe become an actor. I mean,
Mhm.
I guess.
Right. Okay, Matthew?
I said I want to truly learn what I enjoy the most, so I can go in that direction.
So learning is the essence, and okay. So you are a learner. Do you see yourself being a lifetime learner?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a good. All right, so let's go back to Susie. Take another issue, Susie.
I said I want to learn about all my good and bad qualities so I can use the good ones and be aware of my weaknesses.
Okay, let me just respond to. Did you hear what she said? She wants to learn about her strengths and weaknesses. That is a very good. That tells me that she's eager to go after something that can help her. Okay, and even deal with the weaknesses, not just forget them. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, go.
I'm still kind of confused. What's the say?
Is there anything in there that is coming from your gut, coming intrinsically? See, that's what we do. Is we try to describe us as something out here, and there's a principle behind that. You know what that principle is? It's the looking glass principle. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I'm what I think you think I am. So,
Oh, shoot.
oh, the light came on.
That's good. Hey, that's really good.
See, that's learning. The light, when the light comes on, that's learning. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So when we start describing ourselves, and it's sad sometimes because we almost put ourselves out here in other people's point of view, and we're not being ourselves. We're not being our authentic self. We allow other people to be a part of us, and they make the decisions for us, and we accept it. Okay? Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. See if there's anything.
I said, I want to always try to be kind to everyone I meet.
Kind. Okay. So you are a kind soul?
I think so, yeah.
Good. She is. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
supposed to tell you that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Katie. Katie.
I want to learn more about myself and why I make the choices that I do.
Okay. Well, that's desirable. That's good.
I want to learn how to guide my emotions better.
Right.
Because I'm a pretty emotional person, and sometimes that creates insecurity because I don't want to let those emotions out. So I want to figure out how to guide those emotions better.
Very good. Yeah. I think, the one thing that, and I will say this, I won't say the name. I was working with a learner, and she said, there came a time when I separated my emotions and feelings from my thoughts or my cognitive side. So when I first met her, she had no emotions. Okay, so we get so imbalanced. Okay, so here you are talking about. There are some people that really need some. So I think there's some cognitive skills that you could develop, and we have a few that could help you stop and think, count to 10. When you start to get too emotional, now you got to start thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was a very emotional person, and like I said, school was not a strength to me because my whole thought process. I just found out a while back that I had 9 concussions, so I think that might have had something to do with my thinking capacity. And but I totally changed as I began to develop as a Christian and as a learner, as a teacher. We have this principle called the balance of learning, where I think if we could really educate our people to be in the middle and not be totally right brain or totally left brain. I would say if we gave you a test that you probably are much more on the right side, and that's what creates the emotional side. Yeah. Okay, where are we? Any more? Let's go around this way one more time. Paul, one more piece.
I need to know my faults and my doubts.
You need to know what?
My faults and my doubts.
Okay. Strengths and weaknesses, faults, doubt. Yeah, right. And how would you do that?
I don't know. Yet.
Well,
I don't know
you're
yet.
doing it right now. You're sitting in a class, listening to at least a facilitator that can guide. My job is to get you to think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what teachers should do, is to provide you with thinking activities so you can think some of your situations, your intrinsic situations through. Okay? We spend so much time with our energy and our thinking skills, thinking outside the box. I mean, outside the, from intrinsic to extrinsic. I use the history piece. History just, there's so many quotes out there saying, we don't even utilize history. We don't accept history. It's just a waste of time at times. So, but it takes your time in studies. But we should learn from our history, and that's the thing. Our past are the past, but we need to learn from them and then move forward. So, one more, Josh.
For me, I think it's kind of like similar to his. It's just kind of like doubts, because I've had like certain things that's just held me back from like taking certain risks, and I just kind of need to figure out like some of those are more, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking risks. Success, people say you got to take a risk, but hopefully it's a healthy risk, not a risk that's going to injure you.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I said I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I know where I've been.
You can start when you know where you've been, right?
Yeah. Yes, I can do
You only can go up, yes. What did I do? All right. Thank you for your efforts on that activity. Now, real quickly, if you open your folder, there's a question that says humanity on it. This is a strategy that we use in the curriculum. We have put together some, either if we call it statements, statements are statements that have been broken down by people of history. If we have the historical people with the statement, we call them historical quotes from history. In this case, these are statements on humanity. We're still on number 1, chapter 1. Who am I? And as you can see, to the right of each statement, you can write your fist to 5, whether it be a 5 to 1. Please don't put any zeros on there. I know hopefully there's no zero. And then we're going to come back with homework. What are human rights? What do you know about human rights? So let's go back to 1. We cannot talk of the despair of humanity because we are all human beings. What you have to ask yourself is, Do I believe in this statement? Do I accept the statement? You do a fist and 5. Okay, if everybody can do that right now. So really, in a nutshell, what is this statement saying? Cannot talk or despair of humanity because we're all human beings. Now, if I started talking about your mother in a negative way, you'd probably get offended, wouldn't you? Huh? Because you're related to your mother. But we're all related as human beings. And we cut down all the various racial and ethnic backgrounds of groups and communities and country and so on. Okay? We're all human beings. But some are much more educated than others, right? Some know themselves a whole lot better than others. So it really doesn't help us to cut down anybody and everybody because we're all part of it. Did anybody change their score based on my... Did you, Susie?
Well, I didn't understand what it was the statement was saying until you explained it, and then I.
Yeah,
We
same
can,
here.
that's the thing. Please don't write it down until you understand it. How many times do you do in a classroom? Guess, because you don't know. And you don't ask the teacher, you don't ask questions.
A lot.
A lot. I know that. But you should not feel pressured to do something when you don't quite understand what you're doing or quite understand it. So that's why I'm asking you, I usually will wait to see if you know it, if you understand it, and then I will elaborate on it, okay? So,
Can you go over that again? Because
yeah.
I'm confused and not sure if I agree.
We cannot talk of the despair of humanity, meaning,
About all the crap in the world.
yeah,
Okay.
because we are all human beings. And from a Christian standpoint, what does it say? I mean, if we're judging our neighbor with a finger, 3 fingers are coming back at us. I mean, it tells us that we don't have the right to judge because we don't really know until we walk in somebody's shoes. Okay? We don't judge until we can walk in their shoes. And we as human beings, and if you can see that, I don't know when the last time you went to a classroom or went to an activity and you talked about humanity and you talked about human beings. Somehow, that doesn't get talked about.
Because I think there's a difference between talking about it and judging other people for where they're at. And I think,
Right.
I can sit in a discussion and go, okay, we got racism going on. Why is it happening? How do we fix it? So I'm talking of it, of the despair of humanity, but I'm not judging them for it.
Right.
So I think it's just a difference in how you talk about it.
Well, yeah, and I think maybe in this, because I got this from a historical quote, that when you look at how humanity is so torn down, because we tear people down from being humans down to animals. And if we treat them as animals, then we can kill them. We can do whatever because they're animals. But we're people. But people are created in different ways. People are created, but they have different cultures, different ways of doing things, and we have a hard time adjusting to that. So
it's like looking at our world and the human beings with our blinders off, and with our, not narrow focus, but.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yes, we put blinders on. Yes. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, cool. Common sense is the genius of humanity. It's interesting. first of all, what is common sense?
The ability to think rationally about everyday situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you believe that there are people that have common sense with very little education? Yeah. Yeah. So it's like maybe common sense is still a godly breaded piece in humanity. And some people keep it and sustain it, other people lose it. But then you have to figure out how did they lose it? Did the regular education get in the way? You know, these are things that, but, all right, did everybody, how many people put fist of 5 on this one? Okay, good. Good job. Good job, yeah. Progress is the compelling attraction of humanity. Now, you guys you're going to be able to answer this based on your own attitude as far as progress. First of all, what is, everybody got it down? Fist of 5 is what? Okay, so what'd you have?
3.
3? So you're not sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I could argue that there's been no progress in humanity in a long time. We haven't really done
interesting. Can you share?
if you look at the racism thing, Martin Luther King was fighting that, and I think it's just as prevalent now as it was then.
We've taken 3 steps back since.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Yes.
I think, as a culture, we're seeking the wrong type of progress. People are trying to progress into, new technology or, I don't know. But then, a lot of the same, issues are, still there. So we're not, trying to solve those problems, but we're trying to, make a new iPhone or whatever. The wrong type of progress.
And I'm glad that you, a millennial, stated that, because that is exactly, if you take a look at where technology has gone with where it is produced, it has nothing to do with the form of progress that we need. We now, I guess our economy is doing fairly well. Trump's got in there and he's got, eliminated trade wars and things of that nature, and he's doing the necessary things to make our economy work. But from a social standpoint, okay, we are struggling. And
Yeah, you can't
but
tell me progress is happening when there's another school shooting and another one.
Another
and
school.
one.
3 in a week, yeah, it's crazy.
now this, I haven't said this in public, but I will say this now, because it's something that I believe is one of the core issues, and that is that the reason we are struggling so bad in our social realm of humanity is because many, many people don't love themselves. Deep down, they do not love themselves. And it came out in my understanding when I watched the royal wedding and began to understand that what is the most compelling force on earth? The most compelling force on earth is what? Well, I think this.
it's not supposed to be, but
Yeah.
It's love. It's love. It's love. And as much as money is compelling, it wears out. After you have so many billions of dollars, something tends to be missing. But no, love is the most compelling. And as I watched that wedding yesterday, and as they mentioned, it's biblically, God states that he's love, and love is God, and God is love. So if God is with us, within us, and that's what the word enthusiasm means, God within, I don't know if it's the Greek version of what enthusiasm is, God within, that we can grow from the inside out and truly, truly love ourselves. And when we love ourselves, it just, you be around somebody that you can really see that loves themselves. And it's been a journey for me, but through a process like what we're doing here, it gives me the opportunity to do the one thing that I enjoy the most, and that is teach and share my love and share the truths that I know. So with that saying, what do we do? What do we do when we realize the core of the problem is the lack of love, or the lack of one not loving themselves? They act like they love themselves. They do the necessary things as a human being is supposed to do, but there's a lack of a compelling force. So with that being, and here we are, we're 8, 9 people with Mike over there. And oh, by the way, that's Mike.
Hello, Mike.
If we had committees like this that we could talk and work the groundwork out and begin to educate the public to understand that that is a core. And when that gentleman was speaking yesterday at the wedding, there was 600 people in there, and I bet you they were all just going, their jaws were just like that. They were, for the subject to come up. And that's where we got to go. And a lot of kids in the hoods, in poverty, they have no idea what love is. They have no idea what loving themselves. You got to love yourself in order to love other people. You cannot love other people until you love yourself. And for the first time yesterday, one of the clergy said, in Scripture it talks about, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. But let's take it one step further. In order to love your neighbor as yourself, what if you only love yourself 10%? Is that what you're going to give 90% to your neighbor? Can you give 90% to your neighbor when you only love yourself 10%, 20%? He did say, you got to love yourself. It's the first time I've ever heard it on the pulpit. I'm 68 years old, and I've never heard it said that way. So they were sending a message. Okay. How are we doing on time? Humanity must choose integrity, or we don't have a chance. Do we know what integrity is? That's the key word. Does anybody know what integrity means?
Walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah. I thought I knew what integrity. When I was doing the unit on character, when you look at, we have 76 attributes, 76 character attributes that we took in to study that adds to the human being. Integrity is a word that describes all of them and says if you have all of them, you're very holistic and you have integrity. Integrity is a person that has character. That's what the word integrity really means. And they use it just to use it to describe a little bit about what character is. But you cannot understand character by just understanding the word integrity. You can't.
Okay, so now that we know what integrity is, what does having a chance mean? Or not having a chance? Not having a chance at what?
If you don't have, well, let's change it. Humanity must choose character or we don't have a chance.
Yeah, have a chance at what?
At a successful life. A life that I think it may be to the point where when you, at your time in your life, that you haven't seen enough that illustrates the illnesses and the diseases and the poor living that's in the world today as a result of a bad life. Or a life that, like poverty, doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the ability to help people pull themselves out of their conditions. And there's neglect, there's ignorance, there's neglect. So when you say humanity must choose integrity, meaning, is there people with character that's willing to be involved to help people overcome their deficiencies, help them realize their skills and talents? Then they got a chance. And I hate to say it, but there are people out there that don't even have a chance. Does that make sense, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All labor that uplifts humanity must be valued, respected with dignity, and taken with a positive attitude and excellent. When I was a college student, I was a garbage collector. How many people like garbage collectors? But that was a job. There are garbage collectors. Do we need garbage collectors? Yeah. We got to value garbage. And we could go up and down the threshold of areas that the meaningful jobs, the doctors, the lawyers, the educators, and then you got the people down here, okay? But we have to respect all of the areas. Love and compassion must be an integral part of humanity. Without humanity, it can't survive. Love and compassion. That's what that guy said yesterday, and I totally believe it. It's worked in my life. But again, let's go back to the reasons why people have a hard time loving. Why do people have a hard time loving?
Because they don't love themselves.
Okay, they don't love themselves. I mean, there are certain things, but there's also another reason. Because it gets in the way of the love. And I told you, we talked about earlier, the opposite of love is what?
Fear.
So if we have too much fear over resides our life. And we're afraid to do this. We're afraid to do that. That kind of crushes. What's the word? The word I'm looking for. It smothers the love that we do have. Okay? The fear does. So we have to learn to overcome fear. Now, that is a process. And I tell you, the way you're going to do that is with God's help. Okay? Why do we need the gospel of Jesus Christ? Why did Christ come to die on the cross for us? It is for these reasons that we don't have the strength. We have the fear. We have the lack of love. that we must begin to develop just so we can be great humans. So, if that's the only reason you accept Jesus Christ, that is one of many. Because the Holy Spirit will guide and direct you in that process. You will learn love through the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit will help you overcome your fears. You pray, you turn over, you let go. All of that is part of the gospel. That's part of the gift. We know that technology has surpassed humanity. And we're talking about that. Who was I talking about technology? Oh.
It was Susie, wasn't it?
Was it you, Susie? Okay. And maybe let's see. Let's go back and finalize exactly what has technology done by the grossness of technology and how it has come. Here we are sitting with all, how is it related to breaking down relationships? When you see two people at dinner time and they're both,
Whatever do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm oblivious. I don't even pay attention to any other human being. This is my thing. So, has it taken over? Yes, of course it has. I believe that it has. But what can we do? What can you millennials do to help change this process? Just remember, you're coming to this class today, but I'm giving you a lot of challenges and these ideas to put you in a position where you're empowered to help your day and time. We call it the millennial phase, okay? But you guys got to come together and work together and change this. We cannot lose faith in humanity. I mean, why is that? Why should we not lose faith in humanity?
I think humanity will only get worse.
Exactly. It will only get worse. That's something to think about, millennials. It only gets worse. Do you want to see it worse? An individual has not started to live until he or she can rise above the confines of his or her individual concerns in order to broaden the concerns of humanity. Now, let me say this. It is important sometimes for you to grow and be all that you're capable of being, and then put other people first. That's okay. That's what the Bible tells us. Okay? But we have to grow first in order to put people first. Because you can't help somebody when you're hurting or when you have a need or so on. Object is to grow and become all you're capable of being. Know that, hey, nothing can rock your boat, and you help people. You do things similar to what we're doing. You do things to help the masses. You do things. You find a career that is going to be beneficial to you and to help people. But the important thing is you cannot help others until you are able to help yourself. And that is God saying that you have to continue to work and then you get to the point where you can help many people. Okay? So there is a distinction here. Can you see that? Do you see the distinction? That it's almost like a, where it's an oxymoron. You know what an oxymoron is? You know, you say this and it needs, but it's like, it's almost like you're saying the same thing. Grow and be all that you be, but you better help people, or help people and then grow. Some people would think that, no, just go help people and that will help you grow. And not to saying that by helping people isn't going to help you grow. It will. But you got to figure out those other elements that will help you, believe that you can do this, and you're, the things that we really have to grow in is our language and how we communicate to people, and how we're constantly putting them first in our language, which is okay. Always edifying them, praising them, thanking them. These are the things I think helps in our development with people, because they like that. Deny people their human rights, and you deny them their humanity. Now, I have 3:04. Can we do one more thing? Can we do one more thing? And then I'll honor our time. Okay. I want you to think. In fact, let's do this. Katie, why don't you go over to Matthew? In fact, Matthew and Josh and Katie, and then Paul, why don't you come over here and work with these two ladies? And of course, you can slide over to Caitlin too. And I want you to seriously think about what is the meaning of human rights. Okay? All right, you guys going to come up here because we're going to get you on camera.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
all of you.
We didn't
And
take notes, so if we're like fumbling over words, I'm sorry.
The best way is
I agree.
share your thoughts. You're
Okay.
three people. Share your thoughts. Collaborate as you go.
Okay.
This is another piece of the system that we are trying to get our student leadership people together to research, to learn, to grow, and to provide or give back to the public their knowledge and their understanding, okay, through presentations and so on. So eventually we have forums, places around town that you have the stages to begin to, we can bring in the public and you can show your knowledge, okay? So, go ahead.
So basically, we discussed, and what it really comes down to is like human rights are basically the moral boundaries that humans set for humans. So, like let's say freedom of speech, there's boundaries to that set by society for society, and it's kind of we're kind of controlling ourselves at this point. And then there's like a government side to it, and then there's a moral side to it, a psychological side to it. So that's what we discussed. So,
Yeah.
Very good, Matthew. You want anybody to jump in? Go ahead.
I'd basically just agree. I mean, I agree with what he says, yeah.
We were basically talking. Oh.
And
yeah.
okay, so I was also just gonna say, I don't think we're really defined by, if they're I feel like they're kind of talking about laws of the government. We're not really defined by those laws, I guess.
But then she elaborated with, are we really though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Are
was a
we?
deep question. Because think about it, we
Yeah.
are pretty controlled by our laws.
That's
We
true.
have to obey them. And there's people in other countries that don't want to obey their human rights laws, but they have to. And there's things that are socially acceptable that shouldn't be, that are accepted by laws. And then there's some things that aren't. And it's a big web at that point between the moral and government side of things.
Right. But with the morals, and we call them at times norms, because norms are a little bit different than laws, because laws are based on what the government and the people determine. But the norms, like every time you look at a restaurant, there's a norm. It says cannot come in with no shoes, no shirt or something like that. So that becomes a norm. But when it comes to norms as far as relationships with, used to be the man always opened the door for the woman. I don't know where that is today.
Yeah.
Chivalry is not dead. I have done my best.
Yeah.
He was carrying tomato.
Yeah.
I'll repeat this to my husband later. What guys do.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you millennials can look at what has been in the past, what seems to be lost here in the present, okay, that at one time seemed to be pretty good norms, okay? So we're just getting restarted, let's say. And but Katie, you have anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let's give them a hand. Real quickly, I mentioned to you that the way the educational system was or is was based on a theory way back when they implemented the tabula rasa theory, which is saying that when students come in as they are born and they come into education, they got a blank slate. Basically, education point of view is they just got to start from scratch, okay? Well, research showed that they can apply constructivism, which is a view of you students constructing your own knowledge or your own awareness. And that's where it should be. Based on a lot of the things that I brought up today, some of you already had thoughts on it, had heard some things about it. That's a form of constructive nature that you've picked up. Now you just have to figure out how much truth you have in there. I believe that every one of you have great minds and you can think and you can reason. You just have to have the confidence to understand what's coming at you. Okay? The model is shift towards a comprehensive teaching of the whole person. That's the focus that we are trying to do, is create the whole person, the physical, the mental, the emotional, social, and spiritual. Okay? In an educational component. You don't pick that up in regular education. People come to all learning situations with their own already constructive ideas. Right, we just talked about that. Now, here's the what I wanted to show you. Does anyone know what the purpose of a teacher is?
To facilitate thinking.
That, based on what you've learned today, that's an excellent response. And it's very close, because it is the purpose of a teacher is utilizing facilitation process. They are designed of learning experiences. Did we create some learning experiences here today? I hope you learned a lot for 2 hours. And the last is, this is the pyramid where Benjamin Bloom, you ever heard of Bloom's taxonomy, learning taxonomy? This is the way that human beings thought. On the left is the way the thinking process was taught: knowledge, comprehension, application, and then analysis, synthesis, and evaluation was the process of how education was treating or conditioning their learners. But now it's It's changed a little bit. The knowledge went to remember. Because if you can't remember something, you can't learn it, right? Understand, application, analysis, then you evaluate, and the new one is you create. You go out and you create things. And that's what we're trying to do here, is create a new perspective, a new image, a new awareness of self and how God wants to work with you right deep down in your intrinsic soul. And you allow him to work with you, and that partnership becomes a binding partnership, and life will be yours. And I think I'll end on that. So,
Awesome.
yeah, God bless you.
Yeah.